The Crit Show contains elements of horror, fantasy violence, and adult language. Content warnings can be found in the episode description.
Welcome to another exciting installment of the Crit Show, where we are playing the Clockwinders.
Actually, it would be Good Clock Morrow.
Good Clock Morrow. I'm your host, Jake the Snake.
I'm scared. I'm going home.
He had warned us that, like, every new story, we were going to get a
whole new flavor.
A whole new flavor and voice.
Welcome back, y'all. Both those around the table and those in whose headphones we currently are.
Around the digital table.
Around the digital table. Oh, that's nice. That's warm. Welcome back to the Crit Show. We are playing the Clockwinders. Last time, Maxine had a conversation with Cevna, a.k.a. Cecilia, the Ether Witch who used to be a Clockwinder and her grandma's close ally. Her and Kade had a conversation about discerning what all the movement cores were capable of. Kade made a pretty fucking hard roll, and therefore learned a pretty substantial amount of information. The movement cores' history, status, what they represent in the greater whole, and that there are more of them out there, and that they could serve some larger purpose than they currently do. Einon was also in it. So
he was there too.
Present.
So we ended on sort of an arbitrary walking out scene. Where do we find everybody? Where do we want to jump to at the beginning of this one? Is there more you guys want to do here at the Dawn Palace, or do we just find you in media res on the train on the way to the next thing?
Do we think not the characters, we the four of us sitting at this table, telling this in character to Chief Forbin beneficial? Or should we just get on the train and leave?
That's what I was about to say. Like, that's definitely something we do before we leave. But
Yeah.
Jake, I guess it's up to you on if she would have anything interesting to say in response.
Are we going to tell her? She's going to be like, cool.
Great.
Good luck.
Fill me in later.
Or she's going to be like, I happen to have this old amulet that shows a pre-world map.
I don't know. Like, I don't think she's going to have anything super interesting to say.
That's perfect for podcasts.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't, like, learn something. I don't know. I guess I don't know how important this scene would be. I think that Chief Forbin pretty much just, like, is blown away by what you're saying, and promises to look into it, which seems to be Chief Forbin's sort of modus operandi.
Please get out of my office.
So I operate at work as well. Oh, interesting. Oh, I'll check into that.
As an NPC who dies when she's not on camera with all of you, the player characters, there's only so much she can say or do when you're not around. Yeah, I don't think a scene discussing it with her is inherently necessary.
Okay.
Cool.
There's no bombshells I'm waiting to drop on you via Chief Forbin. Well, that's maybe not that. That might not be true, but they probably wouldn't come up in this conversation.
The only thing that might be interesting, and this is an assumption, but last episode, once Maxine started to, like, learn the truth about her grandma's friend, it might be interesting to see Hector come back to the Dawn Palace, because it seems like maybe that's why he wasn't there, because he knew her,
He knew
so he
her.
would recognize her.
All right, fuck it then. Yeah, we're doing this scene. Boom, we're in it. Chief Forbin's office. Chief Forbin says, "Yo, hello. This is Chief Forbin's new energy."
I'm super high right now.
What's up? Yeah, Chief Forbin and Hector are in her office as you visit to fill them in. Again, Forbin does seem like pretty blown away by everything you are explaining. Hector does as well, but in his much more muted manner of just behaving and responding to things. He keeps a pretty tight, heavy lid on it.
Hector, have you been to see Cevna yet? The ether witch that attacked us at the parade?
No, I haven't. I stayed behind to help with cleanup. I didn't really get eyes on her as you all were escorting her back up, and I don't know, I haven't had any cause to speak with her. Why?
Well, I think it's important that the both of you know that she used to be a clockwinder. She's Cecilia Monroe.
The reveal doesn't seem to really hit Chief Forbin, like she's not that familiar with that person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Hector responds with a large degree of shock. Hector says, how did you find that out? Have you ever seen her before?
No, but I recognized her amulet, and I talked to her, and it's her, I'm sure. Chief Forbin, Cecilia was a clockwinder who worked a long time ago with my grandmother. She left after she started using ether, and it overtook her completely.
Chief Forbin is nodding. I'm aware of the story. I've read the reports. She was before my time. I never crossed paths with her personally.
I suppose it's best that we plan on taking her away from here because, well, if she got out, she knows this place very well, having lived here for a while.
Maxine, might I ask you a clarifying question about her?
Of course.
How long ago did this happen in that, was she and your grandmother the age that she is perceived now when they split, or has the ether de-aged her? Did it happen later in life?
Maxine, I feel like this might be kind of a tough call on your part, considering you've only gotten, descriptions of her. But I think you would interpret that she is not younger than she was when she departed the Clockwinders.
No, I think it was about the time she left. My grandmother was a clockwinder for a good portion of the rest of her life after that. But I think that the point of the ether really taking over enough to convince her to leave this must have been enough to lock her in at that age.
Thank you for that. Just trying to gauge the full extent of her abilities as much as we can.
Hector chimes in. Yeah, they were still fairly young when Cecilia, or Cevna, I guess, left. It seems like there is sort of a tipping point for everybody who's a clockwinder where once you've been doing it for a certain amount of time or you reach a certain age, you just kind of fall on one side or the other. Either it means something to you or it doesn't. And I think they were both at that point and they just fell in opposite directions.
I imagine if you go to see her now, she'll look almost exactly as she did the last time you saw her.
He kind of shakes his head. I don't know that I want to. Seems like sort of a bleak reminder of a troubling past.
She is also very strong. If none of you have a reason to speak with her, I would avoid it at all costs, frankly, simply to, avoid being taken over by her and used to make her escape.
Chief Forbin nods, and Hector kind of chuckles. Forbin says, if you're taking her, then I can't see any good reason for either of us to risk it by approaching her if she was able to ensnare one of us. Not that we're the most physically powerful or gifted or anything, but we do hold power and the literal and metaphorical keys to some things. And Hector, again, kind of chuckles when she says physically powerful. He's like, yeah, I'm a little bit past my prime, so I don't know that I could take her even in a slap fight, let alone a battle of magical wills.
Yes, I think it is best that we take her with us and leave her somewhere where she will at least be somewhat inconvenienced to cause any more trouble. I like to think that we've seen the higher scale of her abilities, because if she could have bewitched more people, caused a more certain chaos, I think she would have.
She said she picked people specifically to attack us that wouldn't kill us. Or at the very least, she didn't think they had the capacity. Whether that speaks to her intent or her view on the capabilities of people who don't use ether, I can't really say. But at the very least, she didn't expect that attack to be fatal.
I also like to think that lies more on the end of her merit in a moral capacity, but also if she'd have outright killed us with a group of people with ether in their eyes, that just would have turned us into martyrs. That likely would have ruined her own cause more than helped it. But you're right. I think we've seen a fair extent of her power, and at least that she only wishes to disrupt our operations and not slaughter us wholesale.
According to my grandma, her power was extraordinary. She fully gave herself over to ether. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what she can do.
Yes, I like to think of such things as a toolkit. I certainly don't mean to belittle what she's capable of, just in the matter of we've seen her, bewitch something like 24 individuals at the same time. That's certainly nothing to sneeze at. That is power beyond what I even understood was possible. I only mean to say that I like to think that any individual tools she might have, I would hope that that's at least a glimpse of her ceiling.
We haven't done this yet. Can I spend a fate point to declare a story detail is true?
You certainly can.
I think that, as we're having this conversation, the idea that, oh yeah, she said that she picked people that couldn't hurt us, and have we seen the scope of her powers, and da-da-da, that, one of the city guards, we hear them talking to someone in the front, reporting in, and basically that all of, the armed guards in the area don't remember that time. They were just blanked out. That she did get control over, more violent, dangerous, capable people and didn't use them.
All right. I love that notion. Yeah, this is not a thing we've done so far. You can spend fate points to declare story details true. There are a few ways that this can work from my understanding. If an aspect is already established and true, you don't need to spend a fate point to, add a detail to it, which is just how we generally tell stories and play games anyway.
Yeah.
We just kind of say things that become true, and they are now. You do have to spend the fate point to add a new, tendril onto an aspect in play. And then you can spend a fate point to just add a detail that's not based on an aspect in play, as long as we are all in agreement that that's fine. Generally just if it makes sense and it doesn't, butt up against something that somebody feels a way about. Which I think is the territory we're playing in here. This isn't on an existing aspect.
Yeah.
We're just kind of declaring a thing true. I am cool with this being a truth. Do we as the table agree?
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, you can spend your fate point. And yes, you absolutely hear the guards just chattering. I don't know why the city guards are so close to the window of her office.
It's just a very echoey building.
Yeah, it's traveling from down several blocks.
She's got one of those little brick holes you can open and hear what's being said in the lobbies, so she doesn't have to leave the office all the time.
Also, the guards were all at the concert, and so
the
music was too loud. And so they're just yeah, so weird. Saw them start playing and I don't remember anything.
I think I would like to make a small modification to this.
Yeah.
That there are reports of a couple of them who do remember. Because mechanically, again, there was the opportunity to overcome this curse, that some of them did. Some of them managed to overcome the curse. But by and large, yeah, a lot of them just didn't act and don't really remember any of this, and are being filled in on it by the handful that do, that manage to break it.
The ones who remember the gentle touch on their face of someone they thought with red hair.
Yeah, and then, at varying points later, kind of waking up from it. And remembering that it happened. I'd bet there's even one guard that remembers the touch and didn't succumb to it, but just wasn't enough on his own to fucking do anything about it. And Chief Forbin, nodding, says, I have to imagine that if what she wanted was any death or true destruction, if she's got any kind of brain in that head, which it seems like she does, she could have done it. This would have been a very dumb way to try to achieve death. It seems to me like she got, not exactly what she wanted out of it, because she probably didn't want to get caught, but she got the degree of kerfuffle she was looking for.
Well, we can all be relieved that largely she failed. If anything, people are only firmer in their camps of how they thought of us already.
All right, so we're going to take her with us. We're going to let her out. With all this knowledge, does that change anything? Or do we still want to head to the Forges next?
If that is what we discussed and think that it is the best next course, I'm not inclined to shift that on her account.
There are no major cities between here and Halogi Forges, so dropping her off partway through would make a lot of sense if we're trying to deter her from making any progress.
Sounds like a plan to me, then. Almost seems like maybe the best next course.
Chief Forbin nods and stands up from her desk. I agree. I think it's important that, despite everything you've learned, you still work on the cores we know about and stop this rotation, at least for now. She goes over to look out the window of her office on the sunward side, and her gaze seems to settle on the glyph stones. She says, if everything you're learning about ancient history and all this great important purpose that we don't remember is accurate, then we probably don't want any more of those things catching on fire. We might need whatever they say, even though we don't get it yet.
All right, so you guys want to get it down there? Smee and I can go and get the train loaded up with ads.
Before we leave, I want to go down to the glyph stones, and even though the glyphs themselves are shifting, and it's not as easy as just doing like a stone rubbing on a piece of paper, I want to try and jot down what I can before they shift to the next one, just so if we come across anything later that helps us translate, we've got something to translate.
Okay. I think that is just an investment of time and discomfort. But yeah, you are able to jot down what is currently on those stones. They are adorned in, glyphs. It is more of like an image-based system than like a lines of written letters or anything like that. But yeah, you jot down what is currently on there, much of which is unclear, has been argued for a long time. The one that is agreed upon that you see while you are out here is one that has an image of a dragoness, a fey champion, and a human king and queen standing around a well. And that is the only one that everybody has been able to agree that that's what you're looking at. But nobody has been able to agree on what it means.
Interesting.
So, y'all collect Cevna and take her down to the train, get everything ready to go. Who fetches her?
I'll do it.
Okay. As you are escorting her down, she's asking, so what's to become of me? Where are we going?
The where is not important, just that at some point along our journey, we will let you go on your way.
Is your journey through areas that are hospitable?
Well, I'm certain everywhere is hospitable for someone as in touch with either as you are.
She
got her.
She kind of like nuzzles against you as she's walking next to you.
You win.
Smiling.
Checkmate.
She says, oh, you know just what to say. You're such a charmer.
We won't simply be sending you off into the wilderness without at least some rations and supplies, should you need them.
Well, what a heroic bunch you are.
Well, it was either that or leave you in there, and frankly, I don't think anyone wanted that.
I suppose it depends on where you're going to dump me. Can I get a hint?
Yes, I'm certain you won't enjoy it.
Oh, boo. And I can't just stay in the quarters with a cushy bed and the 3 square meals?
Absolutely not.
She heaves just a big, exaggerated sigh.
I imagine you wouldn't be in there for long either way.
You see her kind of smirk, but you get her down to the train and all of you are able to get boarded. Are you, like, locking her directly in the quarters that you've prepared for her, Kade?
I think so. Like, I don't know why I wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah, you get her squared away and locked in. And also, just to clarify, still blindfolded and bound?
I think so.
All right. Yeah, you get her squared away. The rest of you get settled in, and you get underway. So, the tracks do branch off, as we'd established, fairly close to the Dawn Palace. If you are planning to take the route that leads you the most directly to the Halogi Forges, it will not traverse an area that you have already passed through. So just as far as dumping her somewhere, if you want it to be familiar ground or not, I leave that up to you. I just want to know which way you're taking. You can still, like, go the direction, for example, that you went to get to the Swamp Core, and you'll still be able to kind of loop around and make your way to the forges. The rail lines are a system, so it's not like you'll be stranded out there. It's just a little out of your way or whatever.
For what it's worth, I don't think I want to take her closer to one of the cores we've already fixed.
I can't imagine why.
I have it in my head that the way we're going now, obviously not nearly as far out, but that direction is probably where I had my encounter with the Fae that I was hunting and the other Fae that I was helping out in that same encounter and so on.
Okay.
maybe it'll be out past that way. So I know, hey, at least there's some small communities, some fae that are probably ether users. At least, we know we're not just leaving her in the middle of the woods to die.
Yeah, you know that the Halogi Forges are near a river, the Killian River, and that there are like pockets of civilization thereabouts because it is a relatively hospitable area for that reason with fresh water. So yeah, you think that there's a spot roundabouts where you had your bout with that fae that you could drop her and she wouldn't be an unsurvivable distance away from resources or people.
Okay.
I mean, I also don't think we want her near the river, though, because as a clockwinder, she knows where these movement cores are. And if we're going to be going to a location right up against the river, she just have to follow the river to find us immediately.
So you need to leave her somewhere survivable or close enough to resources that will provide survivability, but remote enough that she cannot quickly infer where she is and use her knowledge as a clockwinder to figure out where she's going.
I'm not as concerned about, like,
Her survival.
yeah, or more just like her ease of survival. Like, I don't want to give her like a tent and like a bunch of, like, she's got ether.
Yeah.
She'll be all right.
I
probably.
mean,
What a dick. Fine.
I also, though, by this same logic, I don't think there's almost anywhere that we're going to leave her that she's not going to pretty quickly know exactly where she is, just based on if she knows the cores are near the river, she also knows where the tracks go. She knows she's not in the swamp. She knows she's not in the mountains. Like, she's going to probably take 10 minutes and go, oh, okay, so this direction.
Yeah, but following the tracks presumably would take a little more time than jumping on a boat and sailing down the river to the next spot.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think anything's going to keep her from getting to us eventually, but we want to make it as difficult as possible.
Okay, so then before we quite get to the rivers.
Okay. All right. So somewhere in the forested wilds, between the palace and the river, you bring the train car to a halt and unlock her quarters, in which she is lounging lazily in the bed. And she sits up. Oh, don't tell me that my time with all of you is coming to an end already.
I am simply bereft myself, dear.
Where is this? Where am I? Where are you leaving me? It smells. This can't be it.
Your vibe is right. You're so hard to read.
Well, what do you mean?
I just don't know. I don't know about you.
I think that means I'm doing it well, then.
I mean, if that's your outcome, to confuse me, not make a new friend.
I would love to be your friend. It just seems that we have certain irrevocable differences of opinion.
Well, maybe there's a middle ground. You ever think about that? No, it's all Ether Witch, and I can survive the sun.
Gently have a hand on Kate's shoulder.
I'm just standing behind Kate nodding.
Oh, God.
I had not seen one of your triggers yet, Kate. That was...
I can survive the sun. Oh, fuck. She says, maybe we could find a middle ground. Just keep me with you. We could become friends. Let me come along. Maybe I could even be helpful.
You were also supposed to be my grandma's friend. If she couldn't trust you, then neither can we.
And I'll like stand up to her. Like, get off my
physically?
train. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, she can't see you, so she's...
Oh, I think I mean, I'll take off the blindfold.
Ooh, okay. A dangerous game you're playing. All right, you take off her blindfold. And yeah, I mean, for the first time since you were all in combat with her, you see her eyes.
I cuss under my breath because they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are. Sparkling.
I just won't look her in the eyes.
I like the image of you being like, I'm gonna stand up to her.
Yeah.
I take off her blindfold. I do not maintain eye contact.
No.
I avert my gaze submissively.
I'll look at her forehead.
There you go.
Nice.
She kind of has to blink to like clear her eyes now, getting used to the light. But Maxine, her gaze does settle on you, and again you see that like this smile that she keeps on sort of fade into something more genuine, like still a smile, but not as put on as what she has when she's interacting with 95% of people 95% of the time.
I'll leave her hands tied, though, and just kind of get her off the train.
I can't say that I wish you luck, but I wish you not get eaten by monsters.
I appreciate that, actually, sincerely. Could she holds up her hands, like, could you I mean, come on. You are dumping me out here. Look, if I wanted anything bad to happen, I could have done it when you removed my blindfold. So clearly I'm acting in good faith.
What not everyone, but a lot of people said you touched their faces. Was that like just for you? Not part of the has to be done?
Well, no, I didn't touch the face of your compatriot here.
He wants you to, though.
And as she looks at Einon, and I would love to. Keep me on the train. Bring me along.
Hold Einon back.
I step over to the open door, and I take a boot knife, and I just throw it down into the dirt.
Into her heart.
Right in her heart.
Fix it with ether, idiot. And I kick her out the door. No, I flick it out the door into the dirt, so it's just sticking in the ground, and I just motion for her to head out.
She shrugs, and she bends down to pick up that knife with both hands, and just kind of holds it up to you guys like it's a little trophy, like it's a fish she's caught. Very well. Good luck on your journey. I hope that we cross paths again soon.
Close the train door.
Kade, get us going. Get us going right now.
I drive the train.
Quick, before she catches up.
We have to make a quick getaway. This is us storming off.
You look out the window and she's fucking sprinting next to the train.
She's passing us.
She's she's outpacing you.
She gets down on all fours.
She looks like Wolverine. No, you if you look out the window, you just see her getting smaller in the metaphorical rear view. She's holding up the knife. She's kind of like holding it in one hand and waving with the other hand that's still bound to it, until she's far enough away that you can't really see her anymore by distance and light.
I am not entirely certain, but I think she may have bewitched me there at the end.
Like maybe we'll find a middle ground. I could be of help. One, I don't think that's true.
What?
Two, I think it could be true, but only if we already knew the thing that needed to be done that was a middle ground. You know what I mean? Like, she's not actually going to find a middle ground with us, but if we were like, hey, we learned about all these other things, and here's what the planet can do, boom, there's your middle ground, and then she might be like, well, okay.
The problem is we can't trust her to prioritize anyone but herself.
Yes, I think I'm more of that mind as well. If she is already willing to chance the lives of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people just for her own goals, I'm not sure any other facts are going to sway her. But I suppose that's something that we'll learn eventually. I can't possibly imagine that's the last we'll hear from her.
We hear her footsteps on the ceiling.
On the top. You hear like Doc Ock arms.
We see that boot knife come in through the roof.
Just punches
She
into the
carves
side.
out.
But all she does is she cuts away like the window in her cell and climbs back inside and gets in bed.
Yeah, you don't know that she's returned until you go to clean out the quarters later. She's like, oh, that was an illusory duplicate you removed.
More like illusory.
Oh. She's not, you can let those go. She's not on the train anymore. She can't hear you.
She's writing them down in her journal for next time.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one page of my bullet journal. It's just like different highlighted colors of like how good the insults are.
Next time I see her, I'm just going to unleash all these one after another.
Ooh, these blues are great. I'm going to hit her with a blue next time.
I'm just standing at the back watching.
Contemplating stepping off and running after her.
All right, so the train gets back up to speed, chugging along the tracks that lead in the direction of the Halogi Forges. You are passing through wild woods and forested areas as you go. Eventually, the tracks do approach the river, the Killian River, and they curve to sort of follow along the near side of it, just generally hugging the direction of the river, and it is clearly visible out one side of the train as you go along. The voyage in total, you all project, will take a little over an entire day, like over 24 hours to get where you're going. And I think as you're traveling, you find that it is slowed by areas where the tracks, although they are intact and still powering the car, have just been overgrown by vegetation, and you guys have to hop out and like clear out some roots and shit so that the train can continue moving. It's just a little bit of a slog. It slows you guys down even a little bit further. But eventually, after about 24 hours have passed, following along the river, you actually see a ways ahead down the tracks people, actually fishermen, who are standing along the riverbanks with their lines cast and looking in your direction with, like, perplexion that there's a fucking train coming down these tracks. They don't seem like they are going to stop their fishing or anything, but they look at you very strangely as you go by. And, one of them kind of gives like a confused, half-hearted wave.
I give an eager wave out the window.
And a little bit further down, like as you progress, you start to see a ways off the rail, sort of between the rails and the river, the beginnings of a village. It looks like you are approaching, about to pass by an area that is actually like inhabited and civilized. You see further fishermen, you see people who are carrying baskets with goods, you start to see buildings and structures, and the makings of a straight-up little town out here.
Kate, can you stop the train? We should talk to these people.
Yeah, I will slow the train down.
Okay. Yeah, you slow the train to a stop, and as you disembark, people are starting to head in your train car's direction. Again, lots of looks of surprise, some of excitement, as people want to come kind of gather around, look at the train, and speak with all of you. One gentleman in particular seems to kind of push his way to the front, not like aggressively, but just like he's trying to make his way towards you all, and he moves with confidence, and he seems to hold a position of authority based on how everybody else kind of defers, like moves out of his way, lets him be the one to reach the front of the group. He is a middle-aged man. He's got blonde hair and a beard that are starting to go gray, and he is dressed a little bit fancier, maybe not fancier, but like a little bit more proper than a lot of the people you're seeing around. They are all dressed in pretty like functional clothing. He is as well, but his shirt's a little wider, and he's wearing a nice like purple coat that looks just a little bit more like pristinely maintained than a lot of other folks. He's got a pink flower like a boutonniere in his coat. But he walks up to the group of you as you step off the train. I never thought I'd see the day again where clockwinders made their way along these rails. You are clockwinders, I presume.
Yes, we are. Einon Kerning, a pleasure to meet you.
Hold out my hand.
Maxine, Hollis. We're official.
Hey there, Arkady Atwater.
Yeah, Maxine, he shakes your hand and anybody else's in turn. Conrad Gullivane. It's nice to meet all of you. I am, sort of in charge around here. What brings you our way?
As you might imagine, we're on our way to do a bit of winding.
Ah, you're headed for the Forges.
Yes.
I don't mean to be rude, but the map we have is fairly incomplete when it comes to the details of the belt. What is this village called?
Well, the one we're standing in now is called Moon. There are actually, a trio of villages right around here, and he kind of just points arbitrarily to a couple more spots along the river. Geth and Round are the other two, and although they have distinct identities and boundaries, we all sort of operate in concert.
Geth, you say, is one of the towns?
Yes.
I believe I have a friend that made their way down to stay there.
Oh, interesting. Who is it?
Well, let me go through my notes to see from my correspondence if this is the correct town. I need to roll it.
Yeah, remind me what this is.
This is your stunt, right?
Yep, this is a friend in every port. Whenever you enter a settlement, you may declare that you've visited it before and roll contacts against fair opposition. And if I succeed, depending on the levels, stuff.
Okay.
That gets me to a 2.
Which is a tie for fair opposition.
Yes. So if I succeed, I have a friend there that owes me one favor. Nothing costly or threatening.
All right. Oh, who do you know in Geth?
Oh, their name is Keen. A hell of a tracker, a bit of a scout. They worked with me quite often on some of my hunts, not so much as a hunter themselves, but as a hell of a tracker.
Well, that makes sense. Geth is our town of primarily trappers. They do a lot of the hunting and collecting of wild game and whatnot.
Marvelous. I'm sure they really found a wonderful home here.
Yes, Keen has become a very valuable member of Geth, and our community trio of towns.
I have no doubt.
So, Geth is primarily trappers. I'm assuming Moon is fishermen?
Correct. And Round is occupied by farmers.
It's a fetching little system you've all got together here.
It keeps us largely self-sufficient. I'm afraid that you've come at a bit of a troubling time for visiting the Forges, though.
Oh?
Yes, well, I'm not sure that you're aware, but for quite a while there have been a group of elementals that have taken up habitat within the Forges. Indeed, they were part of what powered the Forges when they were in operation long ago, but ever since they fall into disrepair, those elementals have taken over, become a bit insular, hostile.
Really?
Indeed. It's not uncommon for members of our villages, fancy themselves treasure hunters and whatnot to try to make their way into the forges and encounter some trouble from these elementals. And unfortunately, of late, a not insubstantial number of our populace have found themselves in a bit of a tizzy, wanting to go in and flush out those salamanders, fight and reclaim the forges for ourselves. Speaking of violence.
And is that unusual for them to hope for something like that?
Well, it's the first suggestion of harming the salamanders that I've heard as long as I've lived here. In my experience, it's understood that nowadays that's their home, and we should be respectful of it and appropriately fearful if we decide to invade it.
The people who have been proposing violence to solve this problem, has this been a growing concern of theirs, or does it seem to be outbursts?
Oh, it seems like something that's been simmering over time and getting worse and worse. But recently, things have come to a bit of an unfortunate head. One of the townsfolk's children have gone missing, and people are convinced that it was the work of the elementals, and they're ready for war. And I think that is where we will leave it off this time.
Oof.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you are interested in additional information about the system or the game or the setting, you can find that info in the show notes. If you want to experience anything else that we have made, check out our Patreon. That is patreon.com/thecritshow, where we have lots of cool stuff that already exists and more cool stuff that is about to exist.
Nice.
If you become a supporter on our Patreon, you can get your name read at the end of an episode, just like Edward Barlow and David Chan, thanks to both of you.
That's a very good Victorian name.
Edward Barlow.
Yeah.
The Dread Pirate.
Yeah.
Edward Barlow. Thank you all once again. Please tune in next time for more adventures of the Clockwinders. Everybody, go ahead, tell them bye.
See you later.
Bye!
Bye.
The Crit Show is a Critshow Studios production, edited and produced by Brandon Wentz, with music by Jake Purley. You can find more information about us at thecritshowpodcast.com. To keep up to date with upcoming live shows, contests, and other special events, follow us at The Crit Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For even more weekly content, join us at patreon.com/thecritshow.